Yeah.
Oh my God.
Naturally, I'll like all of them to ask questions. Nobody submitted anything except
Oh yeah.
it'll be a little different vibe, but the idea is just to
Yeah, no, I'm sorry for that.
Hello.
Really loud. Do it.
I've seen two for one.
Probably all like biodegradable stuff.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone's passion. Do you have any complaints about that? No, never.
Unless like Mondays.
I think they're a bit too harsh on students. But I mean, it kind of depends on what it is. I wish they'd be a little bit more harsh on the dress code. Harsh on the dress code? Yeah, because there's girls, like yesterday I wore shorts early and I had too short, so I got tired of seeing people not getting away with everything. And I got called out for it and got in trouble for it, but yeah, the girl at my class had a crop top this year and like little legging things, so you could see like everything to her. Yeah. Yeah, and I wore shorts like an inch too short because I got tired of seeing everybody in tank tops and sweaty straps. So I want to see if I would get in trouble, and I did. I got yelled at for it.
Are you like a troublemaker other than that?
No.
So my daughter can't wear shorts either because everything she wears, no matter how old they send her home. She wears a shirt where she could reach up and she could pull them home. Because she thinks that 90% of the kids do that.
Yes.
She gets that. Be careful. She had sent home, she was wearing a dress. And the teacher said it was too short when she sat down.
Yes.
Pencil skirt, normal dress.
Yeah.
Okay, we're still on TV.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Sandals.
Yeah.
Go on.
I thought about it yesterday. We're going to be I might go just see like this one's
Think about you. Yeah.
The trip is
Because you can see them as one person.
I'll start wearing shorts if
You
should wear this
It
little
should be like
I don't ever called out guys on that.
I don't know.
We should really test that theory. Randy. Remember the kid that got kicked from Tech, Randy? No.
I have some that are pretty cool.
Not last year.
There's two of us.
Well, for another offense, but they had a date, the Korean class where they're all told little ladies.
Oh, I know, there's
He wore a suit, you were really waiting on him, and he wore a suit, and he was like barely. It looked like this, or anything, maybe. He got in trouble for that. Does that have all this? Yes, someone has gotten in trouble. Yeah, I think
They're pretty strict about it.
Really? I thought this one didn't have dress code. Oh. I was told originally that it didn't have one at all.
Yeah, and the teachers are pretty strict about it. We were walking in the street all the time.
Yeah, where are they gonna be?
I remember one time we were walking into the university building and there were a bunch of like prisoners walking down the street like picking up trash, and like they're all yelling at all the girls, and suddenly the teacher's like, "This is why you observe the dress code."
Yeah.
They're about to wear it.
Oh, really?
Oh, like the back of you, yeah. The bottom.
Oh, they always yelled at us
I
for
remember Molly didn't wear like the appropriate clothing back then.
it. Yeah, I think she got in trouble for it though.
I don't think it's no.
At the end of the day, as long as what you're wearing is distracting, who cares?
Exactly.
Should be happy that you're there.
I saw somebody that, there was some like tweet or something that was like, the reason why girls shouldn't wear spaghetti straps is because it makes guys think of pasta, which is very distracting.
I could have gotten more. I could have asked for more, but I figured that maybe too much.
Yeah.
Where are you going to school
3
next year?
times plus.
Covenant College in Georgia. They gave me a really big scholarship.
You had submitted
What?
this question to me, so I just.
I'm double majoring in economics and music.
Here we are.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
You're not the only one. I'm like probably the only one who
How are you
doesn't.
taking
Oh, we
your
actually did
classes?
pursue questions as much as we did
Double
before,
major.
because one of this conversation should be more, and I'll tell you this
Program are you
again,
in over at Berman?
more about
What?
finding
Program
out
are you in
what
Barbara
you guys
Ingram
doing,
Piano.
Okay.
And then I also play in the band as well.
Oh, gotcha.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah.
Questions out of place.
My band director was all mad because he had to cancel his concert for the night.
Probably would be good to bring direction.
This section, like, to ask whatever questions.
I don't want you to be short if you want to, yeah.
Get ripped off. Well, we use those to mark music, actually. The ones.
Danielle, are you a senior?
No, just.
Robert's Foundation.
I have like little opera classes.
No,
We raised like 2,000 on our own. And the board, the board covered it had like a month to raise so much money. Like, how much money?
Yeah, I had no idea if my hair tie was straight. I tied it.
We
because I
both
was
had to do that. It was like through donations.
Okay,
Okay,
we will have Brad.
yeah, we didn't end up. Miss Long was
He dresses
like on
nice
her
all
own
the time, all day.
to like go to national
real
sewing
stuff.
competitions.
What you
So
gotta
it was
tell.
expensive.
I'm getting all the freshmen and sophomores in my school to dress nice
Not
too.
anymore, but she used to.
It's gonna be like the best of school English dress clothes.
I feel like it's like the warblers are like that. We're blazers and khakis.
Like,
Presenting it on presentation.
So I wear my jacket every
I'm like,
let me know.
All the things, all the websites.
that's fine, but like, yeah, next season is when we release the Spring Trail 15.
Saw that, and I like always said something. She probably knows.
Yeah, like I drew his arm like this little mark, and then I get to
Okay, so we're talking about the string theory. Actually, we watched a video about this. And so
I was talking about
so
TV
it says
shows.
on the universe
I don't watch
of
TV
these
shows. Have you ever seen
like these
TV?
bands of vibrating
Oh, it's
strings.
so good.
Yeah, like that's what makes up everything. And these vibrating
You're
strings
also watching
are
it.
so silly. I'll start it off. I love it. Well, see, there has to be something smaller than that.
What about
Strings, right? They're just vibrating brains of
I've seen like 10 episodes of it. I love
that's my
it.
favorite show.
No, because they're trying to find the most fundamental particle that exists. And okay, because not everything obeys the laws that have established for atoms. There has to be one
And the
particle
one
that
where
obeys
the one where he tried to like
gravitational
steal
force,
what was
the
it out of the
electrostatic force,
satellite?
the small nuclear force, and the weak
Seen that one?
nuclear force.
Something
Okay, so it's just
big.
no, that's why it's just a theory. There, it's just a string theory. Okay.
He tried to steal
Okay, so
out
they
of
made
the
the string
That was a
theory
great
with these bands
episode.
of energy, right? So I was like, well, where does this energy come from? Like, is this, if you consider the Big Bang since it's like the energy
I usually
comes
watch
there?
it in like the middle
And
of
Jake
the
was like,
on my laptop.
actually, it comes from the energy from
The energy.
I start watching
He was
it.
pregnant. Gives birth.
Start watching
That's
it.
the energy.
First season was fantastic.
I've seen every single dress.
Really?
And then, okay,
I'm almost to season 5.
I was just minding my own business,
There's like they keep making these.
doodling or whatever, and then like we have this conversation,
I
and
think they're doing like Netflix stuff. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just that they just put on other seasons.
this is the first interview. Oh, no, that's what if I was Jake was a big fat well, that's what he'd look like.
I've heard of it. It's a whole lot of power.
Yeah.
They lost one episode.
You as a fluffball. Furby's like that little Mario
See,
kind
there's
of
some
like,
yeah, ones you want to keep up with and then forget about it.
Alright, and then, alright, so that wasn't the first one.
We like lost North High apparently. So.
Darren and I get tested, so they want to be here.
Oh, both of them? Wow.
All three of them.
And Drew,
Slide right down for you.
and like like scribbled and went
Please
through.
don't sing.
Yeah, the one that's set up here.
Till the end, please don't sing.
Yes, they are.
And I'm gonna leave this space for our Smith
Page
students.
after it.
Yeah, because this was my AP notebook, meaning that whatever I needed for extra time, it's all in this notebook.
Last week and the week before, it was really fun.
It's very organized if you think about it.
Slide down to this seat here. See, take your mic with you. Just even it out a little bit. And you can slide down on you too, if you want. Thank you.
Still gotta share.
We don't want you to.
Say hi.
Okay, Sarah, I like to bring my own. Where's my third one? Ooh, I had to bring the purple one.
We didn't know this when we set this game.
Right, I stole it from Salem Avenue.
Maybe Gene knew, but he didn't tell us.
I stole it from Salem Avenue. Yeah, and they gave it to me to judge with, and I forgot to put it back.
Should I sit down too?
Yeah, you can scoot down a little bit. I'll take this chair.
Well, whoever went to Grand Canyon University, I'm sure they can get it.
I don't know about the Smithsburg studio, but I'm gonna leave the space open in case he shows up. We haven't heard.
Okay.
So we're gonna get started in a couple of minutes. I've talked to a few of you individually, and sorry for some of you who came early, but you got to have a great lunch today. Who has attended the What's Up Doc session in the fall that we held? So we had some returners, wonderful. So today's session is more about us finding out from you, many of you. We have a couple juniors in the room, right? Two? Just two juniors? Yes? Okay, the rest are all seniors. So we'd like to know a little bit more from you. The superintendent would like to know, what are you doing? What are your plans? What did we do well? What could we improve upon? A couple other questions too. We really want this to become as big a conversation as possible. We'll probably go 45 minutes or until the conversation starts to die down, and we won't keep you forever, but we're hopeful we'll get 45 minutes from you. I know some of you have prepared questions. Some of you may be jotting down some notes now. It's perfectly appropriate to go ahead and ask questions. A couple of things with the microphones. We will pick you up, but please don't sit too far back or we won't be able to hear you on the recording. This will go up on our YouTube channel once we're completed doing some editing to it. Don't be nervous. Please be as casual as possible. We really just wanted to have a great conversation with you. So thank you all for taking time out of your school day to be with us. And Jessen will kick things off with Dr. Wilcox, and we'll go ahead and get started. So Jamie, go ahead.
Well, before you just, can you turn that down a little bit, Jamie? At some point today, I'm going to ask you a question about like a great teacher that you had. Feel free to use a name in that context. It's kind of like a shout out to them. And then what will end up happening is people say, Mr. Such and such. Teachers love that because they rarely do people say great things to them. But the converse of that is not necessarily true. If you've had like a teacher who was just the worst teacher in the world in your mind and has treated you badly, don't name them, okay? We'll handle that internally, but you certainly can talk about your experience. If you had a class that wasn't all that great, you can talk about some of the things that, why it wasn't appealing. If for example, you had a class where all they did is gave you worksheets, you could talk about that wasn't as engaging as the class where Mrs. Smith really, created a moment where I thought, wow, this is cool stuff. So, okay. And I think the only other thing that I would say to you is just forget that the camera's here. Don't even think about it. We will likely have this up on Channel 99 as well for a couple of days so that people who have cable can see it. But then from then on, it'll be on the YouTube channel, and you can look at it. We don't really broadcast it. It's on our YouTube channel. So if you say something really crazy, don't worry, very few people are going to see it. But if you say something really dumb and you just say, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. If you talk to Richard, we can't edit it out. We can cut it out, okay? So don't worry about that. I mean, I say stuff all the time that gets edited out because I'm not very smart.
So. I'll just add to Dr. Wilcox's note. The main reason we record, of course, is to capture the conversation because we want to use this to make the school system even more successful than it is now. So that's why I just be comfortable. Don't worry about the cameras. But it is a great opportunity to put yourselves up on YouTube as well.
Okay, there you go.
Justin, whenever you're ready, you can start things off. I believe the team's ready, Jamie? Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is the second What's Up Doc for the 2013-2014 school year. At the beginning of the year, we got the chance to ask Dr. Wilcox questions and make suggestions about the school district as a whole or school specifically. And I know I think we were all selected by our principals or teachers as kind of representatives for student bodies, students that can articulate ourselves. And so it's kind of an honor to be here. But this year-end What's Up Doc is going to be more of a summing up of the year, especially for the seniors, just to give feedback to Dr. Wilcox about the experience we had in Washington County Public Schools, as well as to tell them about our future plans. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Wilcox.
So we will just have kind of a free-flowing conversation. We'll talk, and you don't need to raise your hand and wait to be called on, but be respectful to each other. Let people finish their point before you kind of interject something. Try and keep a natural flow to this conversation. That would be great. But let's begin. I know a couple of you had questions that you had prepared in advance, so if we kick those questions out first, we'll be sure to get to them, but also it might spur some other conversations. So did one of you from Clear Spring have a question? Or was
We both do.
You both do? All right. So also, would you introduce yourself before you? Okay.
You want to go first? You go first.
All right, I'm Abby Weaver, and my question is, why are college courses not weighed the same as AP courses? Like for my GPA.
Why are...
College courses like essence courses?
Oh, well, I think the rationale behind that is the AP class is a college-ready class. It is the same course that you would take, same kind of content that you would take if you went to a college or university. So it is weighted. It's all, and the way we know that is because the AP course comes with a defined curriculum, a specific syllabus. The teacher has to have expert hours in the content area. But the other course that you take, while it may be rigorous, doesn't have that same kind of certification behind it. And so the colleges and universities don't recognize that course. That's not really a decision that we make locally. Is that all right?
That's good.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, I'm Samantha Staley, and my question is, how is the Common Core preparing us for college?
Samantha, that's an interesting question because, there's so many people right now who are out saying crazy things about the Common Core, that it's everything from the end of time in public education to the destruction of our youth today. But the reality is the Common Core is a framework. It is a set of things that students should be able to not only know, but be able to do. The best example I can give you is when I was going to school, U.S. history was really a time when you memorized a bunch of dates, and you perhaps knew the events that were attached to the dates, and you could put it in some chronology, and you could win a game show, perhaps, by your knowledge of really what were isolated events, and some might even refer to it as trivia. The difference in Common Core right now is that we believe that if it's taught well, if these standards are taught well, young people will not only know those important historical dates, but they'll know the context and what it has to do with their life today. So an example might be, it's one thing to know the preamble to the Constitution. It's another thing to be able to say, well, what that preamble means to you in your everyday life as a citizen. When you take a look at the new next generation science standards, it's one thing to know the elements of the periodic chart. It's another thing to know how those elements can be combined in some type of chemical engineering to make new products that you use or that you can appreciate. And that's really the change, I think, is that we've moved away from just a memorization of isolated facts and tidbits to trying to make that learning relevant to your life and make sure that you can then articulate it. So I think that's a great question because, quite honestly, we have a significant number of adults, both within the system and outside the community, who really think the Common Core is just another education fad. I would say it's probably the most powerful change in education since really the creation of the American public high school in the late, early 20s. So, Sam, thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. I think you got the question pretty good.
Okay. Any other questions right now before we kind of kick it a little bit?
I have a question.
Sure.
My name is Sarah Ballard. I'm from Boonsboro. Do you find it appropriate to offer student incentives such as end-of-the-year field trips or other school-sponsored events as a way to encourage hard work and reward deserving students?
Somebody put you up to that question. No, I don't know if they did, but I'm not a big proponent of those kinds of extrinsic rewards for kids. I don't really think that you as a junior in high school or a senior in high school are going to do X, Y, or Z because of the promise of something that's, you know, a year down the road for you. I don't think that works. Now, perhaps for some kids it does, you know, but most of you have been to Six Flags. Most of you have been to some of the other theme parks, so it's probably not that big a motivation. I do think in the last 9 weeks of school, maybe tying your behavior to prom or some significant event might make some sense, but that's a little more near term. I think what we have to do is we have to make what we're teaching engaging so that you not only see the relevance to your life, but you develop a passion and an interest around it that means that internally you're going to study it whether the teacher pushes you or not. I think that's where the best learning comes from, and quite honestly, I think that's when kids are most engaged. You know, I was a teacher of middle school science for 13 years. I taught at the elementary level for another couple of years. I can never remember a situation where I sat down with a middle school student and said, if you'll just be good till the end of the year, I'll take you for ice cream or something larger. It just never worked. And I think it's a bit of a deal with the devil. The other thing I believe is that, you know, we don't spend enough time really on instruction anyway. So giving up days like that, I think, is counterproductive to what we're all about. You know, I'll tell one quick story that I think is at least tangentially related to that. You know, I have a daughter who's a senior at North High, and she's taking a number of the AP tests as we sit here right now and the IB exams that many of you have taken. But she made a comment to me, and she, you know, I'm going to just tell you this. My daughter tries to push my buttons all the time, like you may do to your parents. But she said, you know, I can't believe the teachers at North are still teaching stuff. There's 2 weeks, 3 weeks of school left, but she said because I took this test, I should be done. See, I don't think that that's an attitude that we want to young people to develop. You know, yes, it's important to take the test, but I want you to still say, you know what, I got more to learn. I've got some stuff that I want to do. Now, I'm not 18 anymore. I'm not 17, so I know that's kind of a different way of approaching it. But I think we should struggle as a district to make your education so engaging that, you know what, you're not looking forward to that last day. You're kind of saying, well, gee, you know, yeah, summer's nice, but I'd really like to continue to study this biotech process or phenomenon. I'd like to continue to engage in this novel and talk to my classmates about their perspectives on, you know, how this plays out in their life. That's what I hope. And so, kind of by extension, I think a lot of our field trips are just wasted time when that could be going on. You know, we have kids that are going to, as I said, the Six Flags and some of the theme parks. That's different, however, than, you know, the bands right now that are traveling, say, to Disney, where they get to perform, because that's authentic learning. I mean, how many times if you're in marching band do you get to march before 5,000 or 6,000 people, you know, with other bands, and, you know, how many times you get to see professional musicians on stage every day and talk to them. So I see the value in that kind of trip, but not just a reward for behavior.
That makes sense. Do you mind if I ask a follow-up question?
No, please.
Okay, so you said that you want to make learning as engaging as possible, but then how are you evaluating teachers to ensure that they're being engaging?
Well, probably not well. You could ask the teachers, but we have a new system for our teacher evaluation that this was the first year we've done. We take a look at the behaviors along 4 domains within the classroom. We want to make sure, for example, that the teacher is well prepared. We want to make sure that the teacher uses engaging strategies, and so we kind of take a look at that. And there are several other areas that we take a careful look at, across 144 different look-fors, if you will. And then 50% of every teacher's evaluation is based on student performance today. There's a new law in Maryland that says that we can't use standardized tests, so we won't use your HSAs, or we wouldn't use an AP exam, we wouldn't use, say, a MAP assessment for a middle school or an elementary student, but we will now use something called an SLO, a student learning objective. And so what we do is we say to the teacher, you need to tell us what the objective is that you're trying to accomplish with this class of kids, and then give us evidence that kids are learning it. So that's how we try to measure engagement, by the accomplishments of the students. So if the beginning of the year, one of the things you wanted students to be able to do, say in a tech class, would be to program, to write a program that ran a robot in a competition, we would be able to know that because we would see the robot actually perform the duties that you had assigned it through the code that you had written. That's real learning. At high school, we might say that the goal is to take your competition world history class to a national competition where you could demonstrate your knowledge against another school or set of schools. That's real learning. And then that student learning objective would say to a teacher that, yeah, your class was engaged. So that's what we're trying to do. But that's a tough model, you guys, because teachers have never really been directly responsible in an evaluation system for your performance before. Arguably, they've always cared deeply. I'm not saying that they don't, but they've never had a system that's sitting down and in a very mechanical way analyzing and trying to quantify student engagement. You know, that question kind of leads me to ask you a question. So you've heard me talk about kind of the hypothetical, what we're trying to do. Let me begin, and maybe I could begin by asking you, Grace, if, how's school been for you? You're a senior, you're an accomplished athlete, you're a good student. How's it been?
It's been all right. It's been relatively easy. I mean, I don't feel very engaged in a lot of my classes, so I'm basically just trying to get the grades for the GPA to get into the school that I want to go to. Just kind of trying to go through the motions.
So what kind of classes are you taking right now?
Right now, I actually only have 2 classes at at South because I do HCC classes.
Okay.
Last year, I did a lot of APs, and I basically did all APs, and then this year I'm focusing a lot on taking the college classes at HCC.
Was you learning a lot of rote memory for tests, or did you actually do a lot of product-based learning?
I'd say most of it was memorization, just trying to, like you said, remember the dates in history classes so that I can kind of regurgitate that onto a test. Not really, I wouldn't say most of the things stayed with me after classes. I couldn't tell you what I learned in my AP world history class. Like, I can't really remember a lot of it. I just wanted to get through the class.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's not very good news for me as a superintendent, but I appreciate the feedback because I think that's one thing that then I can use, and examples like that I can use when I talk to the teachers at South. I can say, not so much Grace, but I can say, you know, are students engaged, and how do you know? So, any ideas, any thoughts?
For teacher engagement?
Or for your experience in high school? I mean, how's it been?
Well, I'm only a freshman, so I'm
Okay.
new to it all. And pretty much the classes, it's just waiting for me to get to the end of the day with band. And band is my life. But other than that, like the classes, I'm pretty scholarly. Like right now I have 400 programs, that's what I told you earlier. So I keep up with the grades, but it's just like I do the work, I turn it in, and wait for the grade. It's not like it keeps with me, but it stays till the test, and I can remember it for the finals. But other than that, it's like I don't think I'll ever really use it.
So why do you wait for band so long? I mean, what about band is it that you like?
I just like how what I do really helps everybody else. Like if I do a part really well, it can help somebody else understand their part, seeing how it fits in. And I think if we took that logic and put it with other classes, that might help too.
See, that's one of the things that I think is so important for our teachers to hear and for our community to hear is that you're chasing a passion. You like playing the instrument. I'm not sure which instrument, but you also see that being part of a larger whole has a value. And I think we can organize some of our classes that way as well. There are some things that you just have to learn, right? I mean, you have to learn like your addition, subtraction factors. You got to learn multiplication, division. You got to learn some decimal equivalents somewhere along the way. Okay? I mean, I get that. If you're foreign language students, there are just certain things that you have to learn. But I think at some point, high school becomes more about how do we take these things that we know and apply them to something else, and how do we engage people? Kaylee, how about you? How's high school been for you?
I'm also a freshman.
Okay.
So me and Josh are kind of in the same boat. But what I have noticed is, especially in these like prerequisite classes, it is a lot of not necessarily knowing how you're going to apply everything. English, obviously, is a class I feel that we can definitely apply that to. U.S. studies too, obviously, that's good to know. And I will say, our teacher does do a good job of trying to help us see how it relates to current events. But I will say that it is kind of, I don't want to say necessarily easy. They have tried to make it a lot of busy work that helps us definitely improve our writing skills and stuff, but it's not necessarily something that we're definitely going to use in the future, especially because it's prerequisite classes right now. But getting the kids involved in understanding how things like math and English and science, how they are going to help us, I feel like the kids, especially at the freshman and sophomore level, don't really understand.
Jessica, you go to a school that's a little unique compared to some of these. Talk about your experience a little bit. I think generally you've been pretty engaged.
Yeah, I would say that, I mean, both in my arts classes and in my academic classes, the teachers have done a lot to try and engage the students. I mean, maybe it's just because we each have something identified that we're passionate about, that we want to go to school every day for. That really helps us be focused on the rest of the school day. But, I mean, my band's at the end of the day too, but I never find myself waiting for it. I guess I'm looking forward to it. But a lot of the teachers that I've had have really tried to connect what we're doing with our arts and also just to real world examples. But I guess I have a question for you guys, because I know we do a lot of cooperative work, like group work. Do you guys think that that helps, or is it detriment to learning and like on different levels?
I think it helps a lot because when you do group work, when you have like class discussions, it helps you to like find out the answers yourself and really get like a hands-on experience. That's really like the most memorable classes is when the teacher brings the group together and asks like questions to the group that we can discuss.
I think that group work, it can work, but it just depends on what type of class that you're in. Like, for example, like our AP Stats class, I know that Garrett's part of it. And we only have about, like, we do the video class, where they're at Hancock, and they're like off on the screen, and then we have a few kids in class. And we do a lot of group work there with like very small numbers. But I feel like when you get to like a big class with a lot of different kids in it, you have the kids, like even in AP classes, you still have those couple kids who are just going to sit there, copy off what you're doing, not put any input into what you're saying. And I think that sometimes group work can result in one or two people doing all the work and then the rest of the people not doing anything.
Any other perspectives on that?
I would tend to agree with what she was saying. I had a philosophy class earlier in the year, the first semester, and we did a lot of group discussions. And for me and for a select other few in the class, it was really beneficial. It actually made me really enjoy the class, but you can tell that there are those students that looked forward to the group discussions solely because they knew they could sit back and not be involved and not have to be engaged because they just didn't want to be a part of it. So it can be really detrimental to them.
What are some things that outside of the traditional day you've enjoyed about your high school experience or you're looking forward to if you're a freshman?
Do you mean like clubs and organizations or
No.
things that you do separate from school?
Things that are school related. What are there some things that you do? And part of the reason I'm asking this question is I think schools are more than just the classes, but I'd kind of like to see what you gravitate towards.
Well, I am vice president of student council as well as senior class cabinet, so I really like those kinds of things. I like leading and organizing things for the school. I think it's first of all, a really great way to meet people, and also you can definitely apply that to the real world, just taking initiative and
Do
trying
you think
new
your
things.
teachers know that you like that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I think so. They know I'm involved.
Okay. So do they, in a traditional class, do they put you in a position where you can use those leadership skills often, or not really?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, because I think a lot of the time, it's they don't focus on individual assets. They just teach to the class as a whole.
That's an interesting point. We're going to come back to that, the individualizing. How about, what do you think?
I'm actually also involved in numerous leadership positions at school. And I do actually feel that though when we do group work and such, I tend to gravitate to be the leader, and I do a lot more work than I think a lot of my peers, and I think teachers do recognize that for me a lot of times. So they tend to, when we do group work, they tend to put me with people that will also do a lot of work. So they don't stick me with people that they know I'm going to do all the work and all the other kids are just gonna.
And would you do all the work because it's important to you?
Yes, my grades are pretty important to me, and I always want to be successful, and some kids just, I guess, don't have that drive and they don't have that motivation to do well, so, and they know someone will pick up the slack if they don't.
I want to ask you, and I'm going to ask each of you to kind of go around the room, so think about this. If you had to put a percentage on the number of kids, Morgan calls them tryhards, but kids that work hard, that that they're gonna do kind of what you said. What percent of the kids that you see on a daily basis really give high school their all and work hard because they want to get grades, they want to go off to college or university, they want to go to the military, they want to go somewhere, and so they're using school as a vehicle to get there? Kelsey, I'm going to start with you, and I know it's a bit unfair, but
Maybe about 30%. Because everybody at Tech High, I know, really wants to, they're really passionate about the class that they're taking. So they're using that class to get to college, or like they're already focused in that field.
And even with that, you'd still say only about 30% really get after it hard?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay, how about you?
I mean, again, being from Tech High, I could probably say about 40, 45. I mean, yeah, Kelsey did mention that all the kids at Tech High are mostly career-minded. So if you know what you want to do, you're going to try hard for it.
Okay. Keep coming around.
I guess I'd want to say in my mind, maybe I'm like weighing it differently, but I would give a higher percentage, maybe closer to, from the students I know, and that's not necessarily the students that there are. I'd say about the people I know and the people I have classes with, it'd be about 60%, but those are strictly kids who are taking all AP courses and such. If I expand it to the whole school, it might be a lower percentage.
Okay,
But-
that's fair, because what you know is the kids that you're competing with and learning with.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. The kids that I'm in classes with put themselves in these classes, so they want to succeed. So I'd say it's closer to 60, 70%, but overall, probably closer to 20%, or maybe even less.
I don't know, I think at like Clear Spring, I feel like there's a really high percentage because I think we're all there to graduate. I don't know really anyone who's not, so I'd say like 60%.
I think from my perspective, because, well, this year I usually take a lot of AP classes, and this year with my schedule and the new 6 mod day, I wasn't able to fit like AP physics into my schedule, so I took the honors version of it. And I think for all my AP classes, I'd say about 80% of the kids really want to get that A and do well on the test, because everybody, well, most of the people that I am in classes with, they want to go to college, they want to get that credit before they get to college, so they don't have to take, that's one last class that they have to take. But I think in the honors class that I'm in, I mean, I'm me and maybe one other person out of 20-some kids.
So it's kind of a misnomer then to call it an honors class, isn't it?
Yeah, because, well, the honors courses, they see, like, people just take the honors courses because they don't want to take the grade level, but they definitely don't want to take AP. But yeah, in the honors courses, nobody really.
So at your school, there's really 3 opportunities. I mean, you could take the traditional, you take the honors, or take the AP, and you're saying that maybe 80% of the AP kids are really engaged and after and on it, and then that number drops off significantly.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I actually agree with Samantha. I'm in AP classes too, and
Okay.
I'm surrounded by like-minded people. So I'd say about 80% of them, they want the grade. Like they didn't have to take the AP class, but they chose to because they want the rigor and they want to learn. But if you just go down honors and on level and just in the halls, it's about 15% actually want to succeed. 'Cause, I mean, I go to South, so.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that now. I go to South Seoul. So what you're saying is we've got a lot of kind of culture building to do at South High
Yes.
to make sure that all kids want to be successful. Somebody remind me to come back and say, well, why aren't kids motivated to be successful? I want to talk about that a little bit.
Also coming from South High, I would say throughout the whole school, it's kind of hard to gauge your senior year because people who were really motivated the past 3 years kind of slack off a little bit. But I'd say it's really only like 20% are really motivated to do well, and I'd say really only 40% are motivated to even do something after they graduate. Right now I'm doing an independent study that takes place during a period where kids are doing credit recovery, and just listening to conversation, these kids couldn't care less about, you know, doing the computer program, whatever it is, to recover that credit that they need to graduate. They blow it off the entire school year, and they're talking about things totally not school related. It's just the least of their concerns.
Well, as a freshman, we're not really like separated yet, like where you have the motivated people in one class and then the people who aren't motivated in the other. So like in my class, I'm in all honors, so you'd expect it to be like the top people that really want to do well, but they can't take AP classes yet because they're only a freshman. But that's not quite how it is, because the people that should be in on grade are sneaking into the honors. Well, not sneaking, but they're up there when maybe some of them ought to be in the normal class. And I'd honestly say that probably only 10% of the people in my class, like I was thinking of one of them, and Kaylee, I, and maybe 2 others would be motivated in that class, and not really anybody else. That's an honors class.
Wow. So coming around to Kaylee.
I would say there's probably about 20%. I'm basing it off of the school. And again, I'm in all honors classes with kids who should and shouldn't be there. But then if I really think about that 20% who is motivated, there are still a good number of kids who are there who have the potential, they have intelligence, but they don't really care. They just can get by on their intelligence alone. There's very few who actually will do the work simply because they know that they can benefit from it. They just want the grade to get out.
I would agree with Sam and Dallas, because I've always been in honors and AP courses and things of that nature, and there's always been a high percentage of students in those courses that really want to succeed and do well. But as you do drop off in the level of work that the students are in, their willingness to succeed does go down.
How about you?
Okay, so being from Hancock, our graduating class for Hancock is just 25 kids if you don't count the ones going to tech. So of that 25, I'd say about 5, like 1/5, maybe 25% are extremely motivated to go to college and stuff. There are those that are like, they can get the grades and they can do good in the classes they're in, but they're not in like the higher classes. So they can get the GPA, but they're not like extremely motivated.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Justin, how about you?
Well, I would say, again, it's because of the split day. In the arts classes, almost 100% of the students are extremely motivated because, I mean, that's what they got in for. And then in the academics classes, I mean, again, there's a split between like AP and honors level, but I still think a lot of the students are at least decently motivated to get decent grades because they know that if their GPA drops too low, they can get sent back to their home school. So I think that is a motivation for even the people that normally would not care at all about academics to at least exert some effort.
So a couple of observations. The first one is when you talk about numbers like 20% are really pushing the envelope. That's not surprising to me because if you even think about a standard distribution and you start to move away from the mean, you know, on either end, it's a small percentage of kids or people in any standard distribution. What is troubling to me is what about the rest of the kids? Why aren't they engaged? Why don't they think that high school adds some value to their life outside of high school? You know, how is it that people don't think that thinking algebraically is going to have some utility in their life, that having a command of the English language, being able to write and read well, isn't going to be helpful to them? I'm not sure that you have any observations on that, but before you offer it, if you have one, I'd say, you know, I watched, my daughter spoke to the student body. She was one of like 5 kids who talked about their college-going plans. And one of the things she said that really struck me, particularly as you talk about the classes that you're in, is she said, if you find yourself not being made better by the people you're around, get a new group of friends. And it seems to me like each of you in some ways is saying that you've self-selected. You're in with a group of people because they either share an interest or they share your passion. Is that fair to say? I'm seeing a lot of head nods. So is it also fair to say then that the kids that you're in classes with, you've been in classes with for a pretty long time? So that really hasn't changed. There haven't been a lot of people just all of a sudden soared up and, oh, yeah. Now I know in Hancock everybody knows each other, so that probably didn't happen there. That's not fair, is it? But like at South, have you guys been kind of with the same group of kids through your high school experience?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part, sometimes you get mixed in with other people. Like I said, I'm in that Apex class right now, just kind of doing my own thing. But yeah, for the most part, that like Dallas, me and him have been in classes together all 4 years.
Okay. All right. How about you guys? Have you been together in classes a lot?
Yeah. We've gone to school with each other since elementary school.
I was going to say, you're sitting there kind of like sisters in some ways. I don't know.
Yeah, we basically are best friends.
All right. All right. Well, let me ask another question, because I want to be respectful of time, and we want people to watch this, so we won't go on too long. And I'll leave some of the questions that I'd posed earlier out there, either just as comments or thoughts that we could maybe follow up off TV. But so what are your plans? I mean, what are you going to do next year? Now, my 2 freshmen, I know you can't really say what you're going to do. You're going to be sophomores. Okay, that's great. So we're going to skip over you on this
Better
question.
than freshmen.
But I want you to hear where some of these folks who have kind of surrounded themselves with people a lot like you, where they're going to go and what they're going to do. We're going to start with Justin. And Justin, what I'd like you to do is kind of model where you're going, where that is, and why you chose to go there.
All right, well, I am going to Covenant College. It's in Lookout Mountain, Georgia. I'm double majoring in economics and music. And a big reason of why I chose to go there is because it's just kind of a thing that our family does, is goes to Covenant College. But also, when I went there, it's a smaller college, a little over 1,000 students, and I just really felt welcomed into the community there. And I really felt like the professors really actually cared about teaching rather than just the research that they were doing. And they were really focused on helping make the students into better people and to engage them.
Okay, so we're going to come around this way now and talk to them.
I'm going to Frostburg State University, and reasons I'm going there would be it's close to home and it's not expensive, and I'm going for elementary education, and they have a really good program there, and I visited, and it's like, I feel like it's extreme to say it, but they compare it to Harvard, just a lot cheaper, and I think that'll be good for me.
Okay.
In the fall, I'll be attending Christopher Newport University in Newport News, Virginia, majoring in political science and minoring in English. The reason why I chose to go there is because I really fell in love with the school when I went to visit, and I feel their faculty is very esteemed, and that they will really help to prepare me for law school after attending college.
Outstanding, thank you.
I'll be attending University of Maryland College Park next year. I am going to be in the Letters and Sciences program, preparing to apply to the Smith School of Business. I've also considered, after business school, a law degree, or I've considered so many things. I don't know where I'm at right now, but I basically chose Maryland mostly for financial reasons. It was a lot cheaper than my top choice school. Also, for some reason, 36,000 other people really appeals to me. I like the stress on athletics and the big community and the big diversity. That just sounds really ideal to me.
I'll be going to North Central College. It's in Naperville, Illinois. There's about 3,000 students there. It's really small. I visited it back in February, and I'm going to major in computer science there. And I ran into the computer science department head, and I got to talking to him, and I was just entranced because he was so in love with his job, and he had nothing but good things to say about his past students and the future of the program, so I really fell in love with it.
That's terrific. Outstanding.
I am planning on attending Elizabethtown College in the fall, and I actually heard about the college because I was playing at a club soccer showcase, and they said, hey, we want you to play soccer for us. And I went and I visited and I researched the academics, and it's got about 2,000 kids there. And I think that right now, for what I want to do, because I want to go on to medical school and be an oncologist, and I just think that Elizabethtown with a small population, and I would get to play soccer, and it's a Division III, so it's nothing majorly sports, but I still get to do everything I love there, and I think that's why I chose that.
I just made the connection to you just now about when you mentioned soccer. You played so many times.
Yeah.
You did such a great job.
I'm Abby Weaver. I'm going to go to HCCC for 1 year, just because, graduating high school, I already have a year of college down, so I'm just going to get my associate's degree, and for financial need, but I'm undecided because I don't really know what I want to do yet.
Okay. Well, actually, you do know what you want to do, and that's smart in the sense that you've got some college student, you're going to build a base, have that associate, so you go on. That's terrific. That's terrific. Yes?
I will be attending University of Maryland in the fall, and I'm also an undecided major, but I will be in the Honors College in a living learning program called Digital Cultures and Creativity. And what? Design Cultures and Creativity. And she's going to be in it too.
Yeah. All right.
And I really love the fact that it was a big school and there are a lot of opportunities, so I'm hoping that'll kind of push me in the right direction as far as what I'm going to do in my future.
That's great. So go ahead now, tell us.
I'm also attending the University of Maryland. I'm majoring in neurobiology and physiology. I'm on the pre-med track. I was really torn between the University of Maryland and the University of Florida, and I ended up choosing the University of Maryland mainly because it was closer to home. And yeah.
Well, that's terrific as well. I'm going to skip you because you're a junior, but I would ask this, what's your area of emphasis at?
Civil engineering architecture, but I'm also looking at construction management.
Okay, outstanding.
I'm going to HCC for a year, maybe 2 years, because this year I'm running for a Skills USA national office, and we're also starting a post-secondary chapter of Skills USA at HCC next year as the honors club, because HCC is also opening up an honors club next year. And I feel like it's a good opportunity for me, and also after I do my 2 years of gen eds, I'll be transferring to UMBC to do mechanical engineering. I'm hoping to go on an automotive engineering track.
That's outstanding. That's really outstanding. Because it's always great for me to talk to you because I get to hear from you things that I don't hear from a lot of, say, principals or faculty members. Your honest assessment of things kind of helps to, as some people would say, keep it real for me. But I would like to give you an opportunity if you've had a teacher who was just a great teacher and you want to kind of say something, in terms of here's why it was a great class and here's why I want to shout out to you that, keep doing it. I'd like to give you that opportunity. So we'll kind of just start, and instead of me calling on you or just saying, go next, just kind of look to each other, and that way not everybody's obligated to say something. But if you have somebody that you want to speak to, whether you're a freshman or a junior or a senior, you're welcome to do it. And so how about if I begin with our student government president, put him on the spot one more time, former board member too, right?
Yeah.
All right, so if you'll start,
All right.
is there somebody that you want to, in particular, give a shout out to?
Yeah, I would say that one of the best teachers I've ever had was our band and orchestra director, Mr. Holland. I mean, not only because he's one of the greatest musicians I've ever met, and I mean, it's amazing, his musical knowledge. If you name a number between 1 and 104, he'll tell you which of Haydn's symphonies it was and what key it's in and sing the theme for you. Like, that's the depth of his knowledge in his field. And, but also because of the way he ties music to the real world. For instance, took a class last year called Advanced Concepts of Music Theory, which is basically a history of Western civilization through the eyes of music. So that was a really interesting course. We did everything from watching parts of Henry V to understand the culture and the music of that time, learning the Agincourt speech before the Battle of Agincourt, to analyzing sonata form, to moving into 12-tone music and that sort of thing. So that was just a really awesome look at Western culture. And so he always has a story to apply to about everything. So he's just really, I think he was one question away from getting onto Jeopardy, actually.
Mr. Holland is a great teacher. How about from Hancock? And we'll keep going around. Is there somebody you guys want to speak to?
Okay, Mr. Bailey, Jeff Bailey. I've had him for all 4 years, and he taught history, government, and 2 of my essence classes these past 2 years, psychology and sociology, psychology this year. And he's always like, he'll give you papers and stuff, and they're not hard, but he always has a story for something relates to his life. He'll repeat stories sometimes too, but they're good stories, so it's not a bad thing. He's a really good teacher.
I would say Miss Ruppenthal. She is a math teacher at our school. She really has a passion for her subject, and she really makes it engaging for students and helps them to keep their grades up. And I just think she's a really good teacher.
Great. Kaylee, you want to offer something? I know it's a young experience.
Miss Raptor, I've spent the most time with her through musical stuff and shows and Disney trip and stuff like that. But because not only is she interested in us growing as musicians, but as people, she really takes an interest in our lives outside of the music department, in our other classes and our friends, and how we can take what we're learning, not only in music, but in school, and how we can apply it to different situations. And she shares a lot of stories about how she applied things in high school.
She's a very interesting teacher. I'm a Facebook friend of hers. That's kind of an old technology that you guys don't use anymore, but it's funny to see, like on prom night, she was waiting for her Rafter's babies.
I had to text Mama Rafter when I got
Mama Rafter, that's...
I had to text Mama Rafter, and she does a great job with keeping eyes on us no matter where we're going. So.
Yeah. You can tell she cares passionately about all of you. So.
Yeah, well, I don't have much to compare it to, but my favorite teacher is Miss Elkins. She's an ELA teacher, and she does the honors classes, and that's like the only class that I feel like that should truly be honors, because it's challenging, and that's the class that my grade is lowest in, but it's still an A. But it's the one I have it's the most challenging for me, and I really like it, because you know what you're doing, and she always seems to find a way to explain it so that we'll understand it and know how it'll fit in later.
That's great. That's terrific.
There's actually probably 2 teachers I'd really like to shout out.
Okay.
One was Mr. Fieser. I had him in the 10th grade for chemistry, just honors chemistry. I really enjoyed him because he was one class that I really felt engaged in. He really used a sense of humor to engage all of his students, and it made it so much easier to remember the concepts and just learn what was going on in the class. So I really appreciate that when teachers can use a sense of humor to help out in the classroom. And other than that, Mr. Berman was another teacher that I have a really great relationship with. I had him for AP World History, Philosophy, and right now I'm doing my independent study under him. He also has a great sense of humor. We get along really well because we're both really sarcastic. And
I can't believe that.
yeah. But he also he takes a lot of interest in his students' outside of the classroom. I had a lot going on past years, and he's always been able to kind of take me aside and ask me. I always felt comfortable talking to him about things, and he would always ask me, like, what's going on? Do you need to talk to me? I always know that I can go to him about, other classes or things going on in my own life outside of school. So I've really appreciated him as a teacher.
Thank you.
I would also like to shout out Mr. Berman. He's been my Leadership Academy advisor for the past 4 years, and I was in his world history class with Grace and philosophy. And like she said, he's invested in his students. He'll take you aside if you look troubled, and he's really helped me grow as a person. So I'm really appreciative of that.
That's terrific. Thank you.
I've been thinking, and I think that the person I like to shout out is Ms. Novak. I mean, she's a teacher, and she is taught there. She's taught some of my friends' parents, if that tells you how long she's been there. And I had her for biology and chemistry and AP Bio last year. And I just think that, last year was the kind of year that I was really trying to decide where I wanted to go. Did I want to do science or whatever? And I just think that she is just so smart. And a lot of people like her, and then you have a lot of people that don't like her because she's really blunt and honest in the way she teaches. But I think that the amount of knowledge that she was just filling our heads with every day, it might not have been on that lesson we were teaching that she was trying to teach us that day, but I just think that overall, I just think that she is just probably my favorite because she's the one who really got me to think that science is what I wanted to do.
Okay. Abigail, how about you?
My teacher is Mr. Stouch. I had him for sociology and world history, but he was like the nicest guy I've ever met. But he pushed you to learn too. I don't know, kids he was just a great teacher.
That's terrific. It's terrific.
Last year for my honors English class and AP literature, I had Mrs. Josick, and she actually moved to a different school this year, but she spent a lot of time outside of school, grading papers and really trying to give us great feedback on essays, and there was no skating by in that class. You really had to work hard, and I really appreciate teachers who care as much as I do.
Well, that's a neat comment. Thank you.
I actually also have two that I'd like to shout out to. One I had last year and the year before for honors in AP chemistry, Mr. O'Connor. I truly retained so much information. I could still tell you different chemical reactions, and I could tell you probably everything I know about chemistry. And he was a good mentor, and he was probably the best teacher I've had in terms of retaining the information. He made everyone work really hard, but we really took a lot from his class. And then I'd also like to shout out to Ms. Ashley Wisner. She was our We the People, our AP government teacher, and she led our We the People team to nationals this year. And it was a really awesome experience, and I really enjoyed everything I got out of that class.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I like to shout out to two teachers too, since I'm from Clear Spring and Tech. At Clear Spring, I had a wonderful experience with Miss Senorita Smith. She was my honor Spanish 2 and Spanish 3 teacher. She was so passionate about what she did. She knew how to engage the students. We had a great time in the class. And then at Tech, I had a great experience with all my teachers this year so far. But this year, one that really stood out was Mr. South, my honors world history teacher. He gets so excited about Cold War and World War II, and he's just so passionate about what he does, and it's great to see that in a teacher. It inspires the students to actually have a great time in class and retain what he actually teaches us. But
That's great. Thank you.
The best teacher I've ever had is Mr. Kevin Seaburn. I had him for physics last year and digital electronics this year, and he's not just a really passionate teacher, he's also everybody's friend. He relates a lot of things back to things he's done physics related in his life. He has all these little Tinker toys that he can relate to any lesson, and he's just really great. Do you have anything to say about Mr. Seaburn?
he's really fun. He knows how to keep the students,
I've talked to people that have failed his physics class, and they still say that he's one of their favorite teachers.
Wow. Wow. Well, what I want to say to each of you is thank you very much. thank you for your honesty and your candor here, but also thank you for being the students that you are, because you may not know it yet, but there are other people who are looking at you at school and aspiring to be the person that you are. We always talked, I used to coach a little bit, and we always said to our varsity athletes that there are lots of little eyes looking up. Well, I think it's also true at high school. There are freshmen who are looking at the seniors who are making their way. There are freshmen who are looking at seniors and sophomores who are looking at seniors and saying, well, where are they going to college? Where are they going to university? How do they conduct themselves on the athletic field? Do they have composure? Are they compassionate people? And each of you in your own way have been that. And many of you I've seen in a number of different venues, and I've had the pleasure of shaking your hands as you walk across the stage for some of your accomplishments. I can't tell you how many times I've run across Kelsey in the last couple of years, and several others of you. And I've seen some of you on the fields of competition where you competed against my own family members, and you comported yourself pretty well. And you didn't knock my daughter down, which I really appreciated from a couple of you. So I will just leave you all with this. Please know that as a school system, whatever we can do to support you, we will do. So if you, as you younger folks get ready to go off to college or university, if you want a letter of recommendation, or if you're a senior and you just would like to kind of close out that file, as a superintendent, I will gladly write a letter based on what I know of you and what I can find out about you for your file. The other thing is if you get a year down the road and you get a call from Richard Wright to come back and talk to us over the Christmas season about how you felt now that you've been away for a year, and will you prepared, I hope you'll take us up on that invitation to come back and spend the better part of an hour for us in kind of the alumni edition of What's Up, Doc, which is kind of a growing phenomenon in the county right now. So with that, I'm going to say thank you very much. Justin, if you don't have any closing comments, we'll just let him shut the cameras off.
I'm good, I think.
He's good, he thinks. Thank you very much again, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.